Hello, and thank you for joining me again for another episode of Project Makeover. Today is just going to be all electrics, nice easy day, not labor intensive. A couple episodes ago when we left off, I had tracked down that the electrical draw that I was getting was coming from fuse 21. So today I'm going to be tracing that, finding out hopefully where the source of that draw is, as well as diagnosing and hopefully fixing a couple of other electrical issues that have crept up since then. And I am not going to be doing the work in my garage today because reasons. Alright, so a brief overrun of the fuse diagram on the E24. So fuse 21 is the one that I'm having issues with. Now, a lot of the items on this list are also protected by other fuses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first target the ones that are only connected to fuse 21. So starting from the bottom, that is the trunk light, glove box light, auto charging flashlight, which I think is also in the glove box. So those are the three I'm going to tackle first. Considering that when I pulled all of the other fuses, the draw didn't drop at all, it would make sense that it would only be one of those three things. If it was just for example, the active check control, I feel like I would have seen a drop in current when I pulled fuses 6, 10, 12, 22, or 23, and I didn't. So I'm just going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So here we go with diagnosing the trunk light and seeing if that is my issue. Okay, so it is getting power. 12 volts. So now what I'm going to do, connect the leads to it, shut the trunk, see if it's still getting power after a certain time period. Oh, that's not very well in there. Okay. No. So, trunk light is the first thing we're checking. Next is going to be the auto charging flashlight. Then the glove box light. Another thing I want to check is the Chime module. So if you remember a couple episodes ago, I found that a bunch of wires were dangling under the driver's side dash. I believe that's what that was for, was the Chime module. So if the door was ajar, it would alert somebody. These are also connected to other fuses, so I don't believe this is it. Last thing I'm going to check, probably the dome light here, and then go from there. See if I can do this without damaging the lens. Hey, I did it. So first thing I want to check is, with the glove box open, is it getting any voltage? The answer to that is no. With the glove box open, I am also going to check the auto charging flashlight that hasn't been turned on since West Germany was a thing. Oof. 0.12 volts going to the auto charging flashlight. That's fine. Let's see if there's any current draw on it. No. Alright, so we've eliminated the glove box light and the auto charging flashlight from my list of culprits on the draw for fuse 21. Now testing the passenger side dome light. Come on. The dome lights didn't work either, but my efforts were spectacular at making everything fall apart in my hands and in my eyes. So I'm back to where I started a couple weeks ago, a month ago, I don't know. Time is a blur. So I noticed all the dangling wires a while back. These two bare, these two taped off at least. but they all fed back to something up here, which I assumed was part of an OEM system. But then I found this little box up here. What are you? Appears this isn't actually connected, so that's good. I can pull all these out. This red, I'm assuming it's hot wire. They just looped it around, fed it back onto itself, and then this black is just a ground up here, so I'm going to disconnect everything and at least get this little bit of a wiring mess out of my way. Oh my good God. Real nice, guys. They looped the red wire around another wiring harness when they capped it off. So now I have to deal with very old, sticky electrical tape. Come on, guys, be better. I don't understand why you would disconnect all the wires and not just pull this little module out. What kind of person does that? So I've got a little bit of good news, bad news. Bad news is my battery has drained from 12 volts down to 7 volts. The good news is that all that has happened in the past 45 minutes. That is good news because the car was sitting for 24 hours connected to the battery, did not drain, but since I've been dickering around, doors open, trunk open, testing lights, it dropped 5 volts. So that's good. That means that it is something probably related to the door, maybe the door chime. I'm not sure, but we're getting closer. Right now I have the battery on the charger and I can't really test anything until the battery's charged again. So in the meantime, I wanted to go over some other electrical issues with the car that I've discovered since starting all this. The E24, some of them, came with a factory anti-theft system. That doesn't work. The left turn signals, including the side drilled side markers, they don't work. Right rear taillight doesn't work. Both front fogs don't work. Rear fogs do work. So that's pretty cool. Wish my brake lights worked. That'd be even cooler. Speedometer does not work. That's top of the priority list because I do intend to drive this thing soon, and I don't think a cop is going to agree that my affinity for old ratchety shitboxes is a valid excuse for speeding. So I gotta get that fixed. Dome lights don't work. Glove box light doesn't work. Onboard computer doesn't work. I'm not sure if the radio does work. It's an aftermarket unit. It's an old Pioneer tape deck with a detachable face in case somebody wants to steal your tape player. So this could be an issue. It is connected to fuse 21, but so is everything else on this goddamn car. So I'm just going down the list at this point. I was hoping that it was just going to be a trunk light. That was me being very optimistic and stupid. So while I'm at it, I'm just going to check all the fuses, make sure they're still good, because that'd be nice if that was one of my problems, was just stupid little fuses. In my quest, I found 2 fuses that were bad. The elusive fuse 21, which is a little concerning because they sized up to a 10 amp fuse. It's supposed to be a 7.5 amp fuse, so either the bad fuse is the cause of my problems or the bad fuse is a result of my problems. I'm leaning toward option 2. Yep, that's no good, so I'll get a new one of those. And then also fuse 23 was bad, which that would explain, yep, that would explain why some of my exterior lights aren't working, hopefully. So we'll see. It'd be cool if one of those was in charge of my speedometer. I doubt it, but it'd be real cool. I decided to check that the fuses that are called out on my fuse diagram here match the fuses that are in my fuse box. Now, fuse 17 here is supposed to be a 30 amp fuse, and they had a 7.5 amp fuse installed. I don't know how it hasn't blown, but I'm gonna pop that little guy. Actually, I'll put it in this one. And then I'll put my new 30 amp fuse in here. Killing me, Smalls. And fuse 6 and 7 are switched. This is supposed to be 7.5. This is supposed to be 15, so I'm gonna swap those back. Here are my spare fuses. Why would you keep that as a spare? Please tell me. So I've replaced fuses. I've tested a bunch of different things in the car, could not find the current draw, tested all sorts of lights, and still 0.22 to 0.23 amp current draw at all times. My next guess is that it's the main relay. So I already pulled off the rubber boot because this thing is just hot to the touch after the car's been connected to the battery for a while. So I'm just wondering if maybe this thing is shot and it's staying always on and it isn't actually switching anymore. So I'm going to replace this and see if it fixes my problem. So I swapped the main relay to the new one I just purchased, and now my current draw has dropped to 0.034 amps, where before we were at like 0.23 or 0.24 amps. So it appears my current draw issue has been solved, and although I was blaming fuse 21, it doesn't appear to be the culprit, and 0.03 is well within tolerance, so I'm very happy right now. Oh, good news. The interior lights work now. Progress. So now, I'm going to see if my lights work. Brake lights. Oh, helps if battery's connected. Dipshit. Brake lights. Running lights. See if I have turn signals. Okay, no left turn signal. I do have a right turn signal. All right, so I can brake and people will see me. It's a plus. I have headlights, I have running lights. It's probably just a bad bulb in the turn signal. I've made progress. And does my speedometer work? No. So I mentioned my door chime several times. It was actually disconnected and duct taped to the dash trim piece. So this wasn't actually hooked up. The two wires here are still in the connector. That one has like 3 strands hanging on for dear life, so I'll have to repin that. And then the main power wire wasn't actually connected to the door chime connector. It was just taped off. So I'm gonna pop this in here. I have the door open right now, so it should be getting power and signal. All right, so that's getting a signal. And yeah, that's getting 12 volts. So that's with the door open. So now let's see with the door closed. All Alright, so now it's not getting a signal. Should still be getting power, I believe. Still getting power. Alright, let's see if it's making a noise. Negative. Okay. So this door chime module isn't working, but it seems like the wires are connected correctly, and the relay and fuse that powers them is doing their job as well. So. I do intend to inform the general public when I'm turning left, so in order to do that, I need left turn signals. I'm pretty sure it's the relay, considering that all of them on the left-hand side don't work, and it's not just isolated to one. So what I want to do is swap the relay between the left turn signal and the right turn signal, since my rights are working just fine. But I need to remove the cover on the lower side of the steering column. There are 2 screws where my fingers are right now. Easy peasy to get out, but it's still stuck on here. So check the manual, there's another screw behind the steering wheel. So in order to remove the cover to replace one relay, I have to remove the entire steering wheel. You're such a dick. All right, so gonna remove the steering wheel now. That was a little more aggressive than I intended. That was easy. Somebody was nice enough to mark the steering wheel for me, so I already have a line, so I can line it up later. Right now it's straight. Sweet. It just pulls right out. There's a lock on here, so I gotta just turn the switch real quick. There we go. Turns out reading helps. Reading is magic. Yep, there it is. Dumbass. Oh, there's only one relay for both. Maybe it's not the relay. Maybe it's my bulbs. I was just overthinking it and assumed because both were out it meant I had a bad relay. Turns out both contacts on the front and rear needed a little bit of love. The bulbs were fine, relay's fine. I took off the steering wheel for no reason. Oh yeah, the onboard computer works now too. So my very last electrical issue is that my fog lights don't work. Turns out you need bulbs for them to work, so I'll just order new bulbs. Fortunately, when I removed the taillight lens, the stud and part of the lens stayed with the car. So I'm going to use my new favorite toy to fix this. So let me get it back into place where it should be. All right, solid. My new favorite toy is my plastic welding gun. It seemed a little gimmicky, but we used it on a few other projects recently and it was fantastic. So instead of me buying a whole new taillight lens, I'm just gonna weld this in a couple spots where you're not gonna be able to see it when my lights are on. Splendid. Sweet. I just clip off the tag ends and put it back in the car. So I'm going to conclude the episode here. Got a lot of little things done. This ends the easy part of the restoration. Next, we're going to be getting into a lot more labor-intensive things, but for non-labor-intensive work, I'm pretty pleased with the progress I made on this. So got all the brake lights working, I have my turn signals working, headlights are good now, interior lights are all good. I don't have a speedometer yet, but I have a feeling that's going to be a sensor in the rear, so I'll take a look at that when I get the car up in the air next time. So on the next episode, I'm going to start looking at the suspension. So get the car up in the air, probably start replacing all the suspension bushings that I looked at, I believe, in episode 2. Definitely replacing the suspension because this thing rocks like a boat. Brakes, I'm going to probably modernize a little bit because whatever's behind those 14-inch wheels is probably going to be way too tiny, and I like some good stopping power. And also going to replace the wheels and tires. I don't know if that's going to happen right away, but it's definitely on my to-do list. But thank you for watching. I'm glad people are enjoying these, and I can't wait to start doing more. And we really get into the fun stuff next episode.